What's good? What's good? What's good, everyone? I'm gonna wait a couple seconds, let a couple of people get on. So I got some stuff to say. In the meantime, William A. Thomas, one of the hosts of TNJ Radio, one and a half of the dynamic duo, hottest duo in radio today. We're going to talk about Condoleezza Rice. There's a little bit that a lot of people had to say. So I'm going to give it a couple of seconds here. Sunny Blanks in the house. What's good? What time is it over there? Like 7:30 in the morning in the future? What's going on, Jay? So yeah, we're going to actually talk about this because lot of people, are kind of twisting a couple of things up. But we're going to get started right now. So a couple of days ago, Condoleezza Rice, at the time, who was the highest ranking Black woman in the country when she was in office in the Bush administration, she went on The View. And one of the topics that came up was critical race theory. Now, for those who are on either side, I don't want to go too deep in regards to critical race theory. The subject, it is important to me, but not so much that. But there's something that she actually said that made a lot of sense, stuck out. For those of you who don't know, she was born in Birmingham, Alabama in the 50s, 1954. Now, for those who don't know, in 1954, you in Birmingham, Alabama, imagine this. You're a kid. You're a baby and you don't know. You're trying to go walk places, do certain things. At this time, there were certain places that you couldn't go. There were certain places that you could not eat. Certain places you couldn't get served. Segregation was at the height during this time. So I would say that Condoleezza Rice, being 66, baby boomer, Black, Birmingham, Alabama, I think that she would know about the adversities that come with being a Black woman, especially growing up in the South. Because that's where the most segregation, there was stuff going on in the North. Of course, in the North, they did it a different way, but there was a lot more opportunity. So those who were down there in the South, they had to find a way to make their own way, pretty much. Those who were down there in the South, a lot of them, they had to stick together. 1954, families were together. 1954, for Black people, we were married. We actually had a higher rate of marriage than the white population. Higher rate. I believe it was in upwards of the 70s as far as what's good, Black conservative TV. But yeah, it was upwards in the 70s, percentage-wise, of Black households having children in wedlock. We were pretty much all we had at the time. And one of the things that Condoleezza was talking about was that her parents told her that there's nothing that you can do about the racism that is going on with these other people. That's their problem. But as far as you go out and be whatever you want to be. That's what she was told. Black woman growing up in the South. Can you imagine for a second, okay? Let's say that in her classroom, whenever she was a kid, in the middle of Jim Crow South, that she was told, you know what, we're going to separate you into the oppressors in the oppressed group. Guess what? They already basically had it. I mean, they didn't have to tell them that there was something wrong. Those people could clearly see it. And that's why one thing I think that's going on a lot is that whenever times get better, people get a little bit too comfortable and they end up wanting to find a problem. People end up getting too comfortable and they stop exercising their muscle and they end up getting weak. Anyone ever see Rocky 3? Rocky 3 was one of my favorite movies, one of my favorite in the franchise. Rocky was the champion. And at the beginning of the film, he was going through and he was knocking out all these people. I never saw someone knock someone out jumping other than George Foreman. That was real life. But Rocky, he has a statue though in Philadelphia. So let's give him a little bit of props. But Rocky, he was going through and he was feeling good. He was doing the interviews. He was feeling Hollywood. But this was a poor Italian man. You know that during that time that the film was depicted, as far as what they were framing it as, Italians weren't really considered that high. They were considered the low point on the totem pole. They were considered dumb. And Rocky was supposed to be like a henchman type dude. If anyone's seen Rocky 1, he was he was walking around with a bat. I think he was like the guy who collects on whenever people owe money or something. So, but I digress. He got comfortable. And then he fought Clubber Lang, Mr. T. And he got knocked the heck out. Thought he was going to die. And then, he ended up having to go back and get that hunger back. Get that eye of the tiger, which was the theme of the movie. Well, that's what's going on, especially with a lot of folks. It's happened with the Black community. It's happened within other communities. But since I'm in the Black community, I'm going to just talk about it. We have, everyone knows that racism exists. No one's doubting that. No one's doubting that there's not a lot of nonsense that goes and has gone on. But at the same time, those people in the 50s, they didn't have time for excuses. It was either make a way or get out the way. Make a way or get out the way. But whatever the case, she ended up, like I said, going very high up. So one of the things that was brought up, they will say, well, CRT is not being taught in the schools. It's a college legal theory. And to that, I agree. There is no course that I know of that's being taught in any elementary school called critical race theory. None that I know of. But the important thing is the elements. These elements actually have a wide-reaching effect. Let me put it like this, okay? For the people who say it's not being taught in the schools, okay? Black people, there are a lot of you, not all, but there are a lot of you that believe that the Willie Lynch letter, which is a hoax, is being taught, right? But there's no course where they're sitting there reading that letter. And it'd be like, white people saying that there's not a reading of the Willie Lynch letter being, taught anywhere. But a lot of people believe that there are certain elements that have been pervasive through our society. For example, in the letter, it talks about putting the woman over the man and emasculating the man. But whether you're black or white or whatever, we can see that those things are going on in society. We could see that men are being emasculated. We could see that there is an interest in separating families, and you're right. Black conservative TV said we have to teach and come together. But the point that I'm making is that if you're using a disingenuous argument and saying, well, that's not what's being taught in the schools, not realizing that if you teach certain elements in the school, it's basically teaching parts of it. There are teachers that are quoting parts from Abraham X. Kendi. Now, I have no problem with teaching to college students. By the time you're in college, you have the ability to be able to hopefully reason, hopefully to be able to defend your point of view if you oppose, or if you do agree, you'll have the ability to show why you actually agree with that standpoint. But come on, 6, 7 to 10-year-olds, most of the time outside of what their parents do, if you put some little kids together, all they're going to do is just play together. Most of the time. Most of the time, if you stick some kids together, they don't really know the difference. They don't know hate unless they're taught it. Most of it comes from their parents or society or what TV's teaching or what's going on is what is being taught in the classrooms. And the point that Condoleezza was saying is that you don't have to make a white kid feel bad for being a black kid. And you don't, white kid can't be a black kid. Let me backtrack on that. I just listened. I was like, what the heck did you just say? But anyway, you can't make a white kid feel bad for being a white kid. And in the same way, just think about how black people have been depicted by certain media and time. You don't want black people to feel bad for being black people. What we need to actually teach is, yes, we do need to be able to deal with full history. We do need to understand, however, full history, if you dig deep enough in it, there's going to be a lot of people who might not like what they saw. Yes, we are aware that there was a time when white people owned black people. There was a time when black people owned black people. There was a time when Native Americans owned black people and so on. There's a time when black people were, sold to white people, black people were sold to Arabs, black people were sold to, and so on. That's the history of the world. The history of the world, according to my faith, says that we are messed up. All of us. We're really messed up. And for us to be able to actually get better put your belief in something. My faith would say you'd have to put your belief in someone, Jesus Christ. That's up to you, whether you decide to believe that or not. That's your decision. But that's my outlook on the world. But either way, if we're not coming together on stuff, then they'll be able to divide us over anything. And right now, what's going on is almost like a hate Olympics to try to see if we could divide people on the race issue, see if we could divide people on the Cody. I'm using code wording for a reason, but divide people on the Cody. See if we could, divide people on the guns, divide people on this, divide people on that. And in the meanwhile, while the division's actually going on, there are things going on behind the scenes that end up affecting you and me. Behind the scenes, they're printing out money endlessly, like they just have a unlimited ATM. This is yours and my money. This is yours and mine and your children's future. And people need to wake up because there's bigger issues in regards to it. If you have racist tendencies, I'm going to tell you that the stuff that's going on behind the scenes affect you. If you feel you are being racially discriminated, I'm going to tell you that the stuff that's going on behind the scenes affects you. And at the end of the day, if we don't all realize it, we're going to be doomed. and we're going to be under China or some other government. Because the US right now is a sinking ship. So we can talk about those cargo ships in the ocean right now, but that might be a precursor to where we'll be in the future. So that's all I got to say, guys. If you like this video, be sure to like. If you're on YouTube, subscribe. We have a lot of content, coming up. And with that, that's your sip of TNJ. Have a great day.